对面那个电动车上装着粉色挡风被的大哥，请你戴上口罩啊，戴上口罩。打电话的帅哥，你口罩呢？赶紧给戴上。迎面走过来的美女边上的那位帅哥，看到你戴着口罩了啊，把口罩戴好，戴好。边走边吃的几位美女，抓紧的把口罩戴上，东西可以回家吃。手里拎着超市购物袋的那位大哥，今天把口罩戴上啊，一定要保护好自己。吃串串的几位帅哥，不要再扯了，玩酒的时候戴好口罩，回家吃啊。说要交警提醒大家啊，在特殊的时期。
I'm about to board one of the last ferries running between the semi-autonomous cities of Macau and Hong Kong. And this is because the Hong Kong city government has just announced that it is suspending this service as of midnight local time on Monday. And it's part of the effort to try to stop the spread of the deadly coronavirus. It's also a decision that's taking place amid considerable domestic political pressure because a union that represents medical workers has threatened to go on strike if the border crossings between Hong Kong and the rest of China are not closed. Now, this ferry service, I mean, it's a major method of transportation between Macau and Hong Kong. Tens of thousands of people cross this way every month. There are people that commute from work between these two former European colonies, and that now is coming to a halt. It's an example of how different parts of China are quarantining themselves from each other to try to stop the spread of the disease. And as this is taking place, governments and airlines are also stopping airline and plane travel to parts of China, all in an effort to try to stop the coronavirus from reaching other countries' shores.
More and more countries are advising their citizens not to travel here to mainland China as the country steps up its massive effort to contain the deadly coronavirus outbreak. The U.S. and Australia are also preventing foreign nationals who have traveled in China in the last 2 weeks from entering their countries. American citizens who have traveled to China's Hubei province, the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak, in the 2 weeks before their return to the U.S. would be subject to up to 14 days of mandatory quarantine. The CDC says it's the first mandatory quarantine in the U.S. in more than 50 years. Meantime, American travelers returning from the rest of mainland China could face health screenings and up to 2 weeks of self-quarantine. Within China, most of the local governments are stepping up their containment efforts as well. On Saturday, the city of Hongkong began restricting residents from leaving their homes, implementing this order that required people who live in the city center to designate only one family member who can leave their home every other day for grocery shopping. The exception will be those who need medical treatment and those who work in pharmacies and supermarkets. That immediately impacts 400,000 people, but surrounding communities are recommended to implement the same policy. That would include 7.5 million people. That's more than the population of the state of Arizona. China is becoming increasingly isolated from the world. At least 62 countries are implementing a wide range of immigration restrictions against both Chinese nationals and people traveling from mainland China. As a result, this country of 1.4 billion people is essentially in quarantine. David Culver, CNN, Beijing.